everyone, welcome to today's lunch lesson live. I'm so glad you're here. Give me a little wave or a thumbs up if you're watching. Let me know below if you're watching on the live or the replay. Just type live or replay below. So good to see you. So today we are going to be talking about how to unblock your money blocks. Yikes. It's a little personal, right? It always gets a little personal. It always gets a little scary to talk about money, right? But it's so important, and I think it is such a new realm for all of us, right? I think it is a generational healing that is happening slowly, right? And I am here for it. So I'm so excited you're here. If you are here for this video, right, something spoke to you that you feel like there might be a money block maybe in your path somewhere, and you're working on it or you're ready to work on it, right? So I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. We're going to talk about the 3 kind of common money blocks that I myself have experienced and that I see so often with my clients. So I'm so glad that you are here, and I would love to hear if these resonate with you and if they're the most common with all of you. And then we're going to talk about kind of the 3 ways to overcome those limiting beliefs or those money blocks, right? How to start to overcome it, right? It's never a, hey, this is happening and I want to change it and boom, it's changed, right? It's something that I think we slowly evolve into our newer, higher self, right? So we take it with a grain of salt and move forward. Progress can be slow sometimes, right? All right, so stick around. It's going to be juicy, right? It's going to be juicy. All right, thank you so much to everyone who voted. In our group, I put out a poll every Tuesday on the topics that we should discuss. So if there's a question, a burning question that keeps coming up for your business that you would love help with, or that you keep having questions about or concerns, definitely feel free to suggest a topic. You can always message me if you have something that you want me to discuss, or you can suggest in that poll on Tuesday, or just pick the topic that the topics that I suggest, right? I just kind of pull out of what's been kind of coming up for some of my clients and what are some things that I love talking about. So I would always love to hear from you what's been coming up for your business and what questions you have. But thanks so much to everyone who voted. Be sure to check out that poll on Tuesdays. All right. So this video, I'm so glad you're here, is for go-getters, right? I know that you are a go-getter coach, you are a woman business owner, you are ready to make moves, and I'm so glad you're here, right? So go-getters are action takers. You are ready to make changes, right? If you have a business, if you're an entrepreneur, I know that you are ready to move mountains, right? And take action for your business. So today, right, I always like to say before these videos, get into your abundant mindset. And abundant mindset to me means that all things are possible, right? That we don't have to worry. All things are possible. We can make changes in our life, and you have the power to do that, right? You have the power within you. It's already within you. You have all the tools you need. It is just about believing that you can make changes, and you will. Right? We all have to get the right tools and take the inspired action. It's not just about waiting for things to happen, but we have to make moves, right? So abundant mindset, kind of clear your head and be ready to open for change, right? I really think that's what abundant mindset is that we believe in the possibilities and that we have the power to change, right? So put your abundant hat on, and I would charge you with writing down 2 items today, 2 action items that you can take and apply to your business today, right? Or apply to your life, right? Today we're kind of talking more about personal money blocks, but it absolutely applies to business, right? If we're all entrepreneurs, mompreneurs here, certainly our business finances bleeds into our personal finances, right? That it's a little gray area, right? It's hard to separate, obviously. So write down 2 action items today. I'd love to hear what your 2 action items are. Please share with us so that we can all support each other along the way. Awesome. All right. So if you're new here, right, my name is Christina, and my husband and I started a little bike shop back in 2014. And I always say that is really where I learned my marketing skills, right? I had to. If anyone has had a brick and mortar, right? Tell me about your brick and mortar experiences. It's hard, right? It was really fun. We loved making this beautiful bike shop, coffee shop. but we really quickly saw that if you build it, right, they don't come. So we really had to learn some quick marketing skills. And I think we were really creative and we were effective in a lot of ways, especially on Facebook, especially with Facebook groups, right? I'm a big Facebook group believer. And right, we did a lot of things that were successful. Unfortunately, we did have to close our doors after 2 years of being in business, and we learned so much about finances, about our own money beliefs, right? And are still learning. I think those are things that we always learn throughout our life. It's a journey, right? And those beliefs are deep. Right? Those beliefs that we grew up with are ingrained in us. So money is a really hard topic because we're all, right? We all come from different paths, but I think there's been certainly society beliefs that have been kind of passed on for generations, right? And so I think it's really hard to overcome some of those, especially if they're not serving us, right? If they're not working for us, if they're not true. So we're going to talk all about that. But at the bike shop, right, after we closed our doors, we really had to kind of figure out what we believed about ourselves, right? It's really hard. If anyone has closed a business, right, it's really frightening and it's really, really hard, right? You really have to kind of figure out what that means to you, right? And for me, I turned it into my passion of helping others, right? I really want to help other business owners not have to close their doors. And I just believe in sharing our knowledge and having access to the right tools that we can all, right, rise together. That's really what I believe. So I turned my pain, right, into passion. And that's really what I continue to do. With our money, right, it's hard. It's really hard. We really had to take that belief that, okay, this was a failure, and it still creeps up, right? It is a fear that we will fail again, right? If we failed once with money, with finances, with business, right, that we will fail again. And so it's a fear that I constantly have to be reminding myself that it's not going to happen, just because it happened once or, a couple times, whatever, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen again, right? You have the ability to change. It can be beautiful. Money can be easy. Money doesn't have to be hard, right? So that kind of goes into our money beliefs, right? What I recently learned, right, and I love this, tell me if you have heard of this, BTFAR. It's a common acronym that has been kind of popping up in the development world, professional development, personal development world. And I recently read it in a book. BTFAR stands for beliefs, thoughts, feelings, action, results. Right? So if you can picture how your beliefs, because many of us think, oh, I can't just change my thoughts and change my money future, right? That feels way too woo-woo, right? But really, if you think about how your beliefs affect your thoughts in everyday life, whether you notice them or not, those thoughts, if they're stressful, if they're not making you feel great, if they're negative, then it turns into feelings. And then we all know, right, feelings can turn into action, whether that's, spending for that retail therapy or eating some Oreos, right, or whatever that ends up being. And then you end up kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right, is getting the results that you don't want because that belief is not serving you, right? That belief is it's always going to be hard. And so you go through that process and your results are that money is hard and your brain sees that pattern and says, yep, there we are again, right? Another check mark, money's hard, right? Or there's never enough or all those things. So keep in mind, right? If that's one of your action items, write down BTFAR, beliefs, thoughts, feelings, action, results, right? It's our feelings that end up turning into action. I thought that was so powerful. I liked that acronym because I feel like I've kind of thought of that process. Like, of course, your thoughts, right, kind of turn into action. And if I can change my thoughts, I can change my feelings, I can change my action, I can get different results, right? That's really what it's all about. So write that down if you've never heard of it, right? Or tell me if you have a great resource, right, for BTFAR. I would love to hear about it. Okay, so the 3 most common money blocks, right? These are the ones that I myself have certainly struggled with, right? Overcame, continuing, having to work on them, right? They are things that are so ingrained in me that I constantly have to work on them. I've made a lot of moves and a lot of work in this area, right? But I think it still comes up, right? It's a constant journey. So the first one for sure for me is My dad always said growing up, yuppies are pricks. Did anyone else grow up with a dad that was so against yuppies, right? I don't know how, if it was just the 80s, right? But like yuppie was such a derogatory term in my household, right? Yuppies are pricks. So I really took that with, and that can come in a lot of different messages, a lot of different ways, right? Being rich is bad. Being rich is greedy, right? How many movies have we seen where it's never a successful female has an amazing life and that's the end of the story, right? If there's a successful female, she's mean, she's the B word, right? She has to learn some lesson, she has to overcome some shortcoming of hers, right? It's never that she's just successful and happy and goes about her life, right? So, and same with, right, most rich people in movies are the villain, right? Most villains are rich and they're doing bad things and all of that. And so I would just argue that what if that wasn't the case, right? Do any of you know any rich people that are doing good things? Yeah, right? Of course there's the possibility that you can have a lot of money and do amazing things. And so I am really wanting to encourage all women, right? Especially women, because I think women can do so many good things. A well-resourced woman, right, can do so many more good things for the world. And I think that's so important. So I would really argue if you have this money belief that being rich is bad or greedy or making more money is greedy, and I hear this a lot with my clients, right? Oh, I don't want to make too much, right? I just want to make a little bit more, right? I just want to live comfortably. I don't want to make too much. I'm not greedy. I don't want to do that, right? But what if that's not true, right? How much more good in the world could you do if you made more money, right? Yes, of course you can provide a luxurious or comfortable life for yourself, but why wouldn't you want to make more so that you can give back and do more good, right? It's okay to make more money. And I think I would just really encourage everyone to really think about those thought patterns. How are those thought patterns holding you back? How are those thought patterns that money is bad, being greedy is bad, or, you know, having more money is greedy because we think of greedy as a bad term, or, you know, having that car, having that expensive car. Oh, people will think I'm greedy. People will think I'm a yuppie, right? That is definitely something that occurs in my brain a lot. I would love to hear if any of you, if that resonates with you. But I just think I would, you know, every time those thoughts come in, again, think about BTFAR, right? If you have a belief that money is bad, all of a sudden, anytime you see maybe a fancy car, you might catch yourself thinking, oh, they're not nice. They're probably mean, right? Have you ever done that? You see a limo, oh, I'm sure they're mean, or, you know, making bad decisions, or I'm sure they're greedy, or, you know, or another fancy car, or whatever it looks like for you, right? And then all of a sudden you might feel bad about yourself, or you start to feel whatever that subconscious level is. And you might take actions that then maybe you have retail therapy and then boom, you're spending more money that you didn't need to, and your results are that you don't have more money, right? I mean, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that if you believe you don't have enough money, or that being rich is bad, you're gonna stay not being rich, right? You're not gonna be rich if you think being rich is bad. Your brain is going to protect you. Your subconscious is going to protect you and keep you in that pattern. All right, so if that's one of your money beliefs, right, definitely think about, is that true for me? And is that really what I want, right? Do I want to not be wealthy? Do I want to not do more good in the world? Do I only want to stay small at a level, right? So really be thinking about that if that is true. All right, so that's the first one. So then the second money belief that I think is so huge for so many of us is there's never enough, right? I know at the bike shop, right, we had more bills than money coming in, right? So I know that is a pattern that is always in my brain. Oh, this bill's coming up. Oh, am I gonna have oh, you know what I mean? So I don't know if that's something you guys, right? I feel like many Americans, I think many people in the world struggle with this, that there's never gonna be enough. There's always a bill coming. There's always a next, you know, something's gonna break. There's always gonna be a next something big that I'm gonna have to pay for, right? And so again, thinking about BTFAR, if you have that belief, there's never enough. There's never gonna be enough money, right? There's always gonna be something that you have to spend money on. Whereas if you could change your thought patterns and think, okay, right, I'm gonna have excess money this month. Excess is okay. It's okay to have excess money. I'm gonna have excess this month. I'm gonna build a cushion, right? If you can keep telling yourself that, all of a sudden your actions, you will have inspired action to start making that cushion a reality, right? Stop paying for more things than you need to, right? I know that sounds kind of counterintuitive, right? If there's bills, there's bills. But it's really a subconscious thought. I know this in my own life, that if I keep saying there's never enough, right? But if I tell myself we're gonna have an excess, all of a sudden there is a cushion, right? And I know it's hard to imagine, but it's over time, right? And it's a matter of changing your everyday thoughts. It's really hard, right? Because a lot of them are subconscious. We don't even notice our thoughts, right? But if you can, if you do any research, right, into BTFAR, I think there's science obviously backing it up, but if we can really think about how our brain is always seeking a pattern. So if you have a belief that there's never enough money and there's always going to be a bill, all of a sudden you're like, oh, another bill's coming. Oh, another bill's coming. This is terrible. This is terrible. It's always going to be stressful, right? And then all of a sudden that's your feeling, that's stressful and it's hard and you have anxiety. And then all of a sudden you take actions to where you find there's another bill. Your brain is going to think and find and seek another pattern, another bill. Oh, there's another one. Oh, yep, here's this one. You know what I mean? And so then all of a sudden your result is you have another bill, right? And there's never enough money. So if we can change our thoughts, we can change our future. We can change our thoughts, we can change our results. I really believe that. So think about what thoughts are coming up for you. That's really the biggest bottom line, right? If you can notice your own thoughts and you can write down different ways of overcoming those thoughts, or different thoughts that are more positive that you want, right? Change that thought to something that you do want. There is enough money. There's always enough money. I can always pay my bills, right? Money doesn't have to be something stressful. It doesn't have to be something that I worry about. I feel like so many of us got that message, right, growing up. And I think it's, again, ancestral, right, healing that, you know, if any of you are my age, perhaps our grandparents were in the Depression, our Great Depression. So our parents grew up in this save, money pinch, you know, save everything you have, make sure you save. And then that got passed on to us, right? That it's really better to save and have a cushion and all of those things, but it's hard, right? So it comes in a lot of different ways, and we end up doing a lot of different things with that trauma, right? Whether we spend too much or save too much and are afraid to spend, right? It can kind of go both ways, I think. So definitely think about what thoughts are coming up for you and what messages you received as a kid, right? And it's nobody's fault, right? We're not here to be mad at our parents. I think our parents did absolutely everything they could. It's not my dad's fault, right? That he wasn't a fan of yuppies, but I got that message, right? And he must have gotten that message, or he ran into people that he wasn't fond of, or whatever that looks like. But it doesn't have to be that all rich people are bad, right? It doesn't have to be that there's never enough money, right? You definitely can change your thought patterns and change your results. That's really what I believe. Okay, so the third one, really, we kind of touched on it already, is that so many of us think that spending is bad, right? And I get it. Overspending can definitely be a result from kind of negative thoughts. If we feel guilty about things, or, oh, we just need that retail therapy. We get that, you know, dopamine that people say of oh, something new, like, okay. And then we feel guilty about it, or whatever that looks like for you, right? So many of us kind of go the other way. I think I go back and forth between wanting to save more, and then I don't want to spend, right? So then I'm almost fearful of spending. Well, if I'm saving, I'm not spending. So I don't want to spend on, oh, don't spend on, you know, I want to hoard my money. And right, that's not healthy either. So it kind of goes both ways. I think there's this healthy flow, right? That's what I love. I love reading books and hearing from coaches that talk about flow. Money is flow, right? That it's just this kind of third party. It's really not good or bad, right? But that if we can be in the flow, if you're making intentional spending, that's not bad. It's going to come back to you, right? It's going to be fulfilled. It's going to be reapplied. What's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be fulfilled back to you, right? It's going to be resupplied and coming back to you. So I really think spending is the third money block that is really hard for people. And that can turn into spending a large amount on ourselves and investing in our business, right? I hear this so much that it is really hard for women to feel like, especially women, to feel like they can spend a large amount on their business. And I'm here to say, right, I say this with a big caveat, right? I would never want you to spend money on marketing, hire a VA if you don't have a system that is already working. I feel like there is a big myth out there, and I was in this same boat, right? When we had the bike shop, I kept hearing the message, Well, if you can just make enough money, you can outsource your marketing. Did anyone else ever hear that message or feel that way? That, oh, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a, I don't know about sales. I don't know enough. So I'm just going to wait until I make enough money and then outsource my marketing. And I would argue that two things, right? That you never want to outsource your marketing, meaning having someone else control your marketing if you don't have a system that's already working. So I would never hire a VA to do your social media, hire a VA to do your sales call, to do your bookings, unless you already have a system that is working. Because if you don't know how to control where your leads are coming from or how to close those sales, how can you possibly outsource or tell someone else how to do that for your business, right? Those are skills that you need for your own business. So I would never want you to outsource your marketing unless you have a system that's already working that you can delegate, right? That's the point of a VA. That's the point of outsourcing, is delegating something that you can already do yourself. So there's nothing wrong with hiring a VA, right, to do skills that you already have, but I would never hire a VA for skills that you don't have, right? Or it's important to hire professionals for things that we don't know how to do, right? Maybe that's accounting or things like that, but I would always still have your fingers in it and know exactly how to edit your booking, your bookkeeping, right? How to edit your website. You can hire a website designer, absolutely, but you better make sure you know how to edit it. If you want to change a form, change the font, change the colors, or update your pricing, right? You better know how to edit it, especially if you're a small business owner, right? If you have a whole department, then more power to you, right? I'm a one-woman show. I think most of you probably are. So you really need to kind of own your operations, right, before you can outsource. So I say that with a big caveat, because what if you don't have those skills, right? And many of us just think, well, I'm not gonna market because I don't know how to market until I make enough money, and then I can have someone else do it, right? And perhaps that is a little bit of a backward thinking, because it's like we're waiting until we can make enough money and then not have to do that thing, right? Whereas we might not make money until we do that thing or learn that thing, right? So it's a little bit of a catch-22, right? Which one do you do first? And I would always say, if you don't have a system that is getting you leads every single day, then you need to figure out a system that gets you leads every day, right? And so whether that's hiring a coach, taking a course, figuring out how to get leads every day to make your business run and move forward, then that's what you need to do, right? And I would always say, right, coaching is certainly tax deductible. So you can always, put it on a credit card. You can certainly deduct it from your taxes, but it's scary. I get it. I completely understand that we get in this money block, I think, that is, if I can't spend too much on I can't spend more money in my business than it's making. But what if spending that amount will allow you to make more money, right? If you're kind of in this catch-22 of just waiting until you make more money, you might never make more money until you hire that coach, until you take that course, right? So those are some really important thoughts to really be thinking about. What's going on in your brain when you're saying you don't want to spend money, right? When you don't want to spend money on your business, on yourself. Is it those old thought patterns that are keeping you small, right? Is it your old thought and fear wanting you to just play it safe? Well, I know that if I don't spend that large amount of money, then I'm okay, right? I know that my business can just stay where it's at. But if you want to grow, right, you've got to be pushed outside your comfort zone a little bit. And that can always be really scary, right? I get it. And spending a large amount of money is always really scary. But you really have to think about, what are your thought patterns? What are your beliefs about spending, right? And like I said, this can lead into, if you've been taught to save, right? My mom said, save half of everything you own. That's really hard and really boring. So I never did it, right? But I get it, that it's important to save, maybe not half of everything you own, but whenever I get to start saving and I have a chunk, then I go on the other side, right? And I kind of start hoarding, and I get this mindset, oh, I can't spend. It's bad to spend. Spending is bad, right? And that's really not healthy either, because it's okay to spend money if you're in the flow of money, right? You spend money and it is refilled. You spend money and you receive it back, right? It's okay to spend money. If you spend money on coaching, right, the goal would be to get that money back in your sales, right? And that is the risk that is scary, right? Because you're not sure you're going to make that money back. But for sure, if you don't take that risk, you know you're not going to make that money because you're already not making that money. So it's kind of a waiting game, right? I would hate for you to waste years waiting for you to make more money until right, and losing out on all that money. So if you're waiting, that can be, I'd hate for you to waste years, right? I was there. I wasted years before I spent money on extra courses, extra coaching, before I spent money that could really move my business forward. I really thought I could learn it on my own, and I wasted a lot of time, and I really wish I hadn't. So I don't want that for you, right? But definitely, I think that goes back to our money blocks, right? Really be thinking about what money thoughts are coming up for you, and thinking about how those beliefs turn into thoughts, turn into feelings, and then turn into action, right? And those actions really lead to our results. So if you have old beliefs that you don't want anymore, that aren't true, that aren't serving you, right? It's not serving you to think that being rich is bad. It is not serving you to think that spending is bad. And it is not serving you to think that there's never enough money or that there's always going to be another bill, right? That's not serving you. That's not creating the future that you want, or creating the happiness in your life or calmness in your life, right? So those are some really hard things. So those are the 3 most common beliefs. I would love to hear who resonates with those, right? It's a little juicy and a little personal, I always feel like, so it's scary. If you want to message me on the side, you absolutely can too. But tell me if any of these resonate with you, if any of these beliefs are similar to what you have. I would love to hear what you heard growing up and what kind of is coming up for you. So then the 3 things of how to really overcome, right? We've really talked about just noticing your own thoughts. I think the biggest 3 things that have really helped me are, 1, books, right? I think books are the #1 way to overcome your money beliefs, because it really gives you a different perspective. Granted, it takes a couple of times sometimes to read some books, or hearing it over and over, the same kind of concept. It takes some time to really get absorbed and hit home, and then be able to apply it and to notice your own thought patterns, right? That's really the hardest part. So I think books is #1. And the second one is meditation, right? I'm a big meditator. Tell me below if you like to meditate. But I think it's really important to sit quiet with yourself, right? And really ask yourself some of these hard questions. What are the thoughts that keep coming up? What are these money blocks that are keeping me small? What are these limiting beliefs, right? That are affecting my future, that are holding me back for the life that I want, from the life that I want, right? So I think meditation is really important. Just getting quiet with yourself and calming your body and seeing what's true for you on the inside. And there are so many, right? I love guided meditations. If you have a great guided meditation, I would love to hear it below. There's so many great ones out there on YouTube that are free, right? I love Insight Timer. Insight Timer is really great too, if any of you are on there. But there's a lot of just start with 5 minutes, right? I've been doing some walking meditations lately. You can catch those on my YouTube or on my Instagram, that just a quick 5-minute walking meditation, right? If it feels too funny for you to just be lying on your floor, right? Or sitting quietly by yourself in a room. Sometimes that can be hard to start, right? It's always hard to start. But if meditation isn't a practice for you, I would definitely encourage you to start with a walking meditation, start with a guided meditation, something that feels good to you, so that you don't feel silly, right? Sitting there all by yourself, not knowing what to do with yourself. I used to think meditation had to be no thoughts, right? Just empty your head. And of course that never happens for me, right? I think for women, we have so much going on in our brain. It rarely happens. So for me, I would start there, and then I realized, okay, I keep having these thoughts, and that's okay, right? It's okay that it's not perfect. And then I got into guided meditations, and it's really helpful to have someone kind of guiding you through your own thoughts in a calming way. And it's just really relaxing and fun. I really like it. So definitely feel free to share any meditation resources below. And then the third way to really overcome your money blocks is affirmations, right? I think affirmations are so important because we really need words to help us replace our own thoughts, right? To me, having the right words that resonate with you to overcome your thoughts allows you to change your thoughts, right? You need a placeholder, even if it doesn't feel true for you yet, right? So if you catch yourself saying there's never enough money, if you could just replace that whenever you hear there's never enough money, just to replace it with, oh, there's always enough money. Even if that doesn't feel true at first, right? Even if you're like, but there isn't ever enough money. But that's the point, right? Is that if you tell yourself there's always enough money, I'm gonna build a cushion, I'm gonna refill this money. Every time I spend, I'm gonna get it back, right? If you tell yourself that over and over, eventually that turns into inspired action and it turns into results, right? If you can change your beliefs, you can change your actions, you can change your results. That's really the whole point. I'm going to share with you, so I'm a big manifester, right? If any of you can't tell or are manifestors yourself, I created a little manifestation journal that I will share below. And it has kind of some exercises of going through your money blocks, right? I think it's really important to write down those money blocks and what patterns you want to change, right? What beliefs you want to change. So like if you were writing down, if you keep hearing being rich is bad, oh, I don't want to make too much money, right? I live a simple life, I just want to make a little bit more, right? Then you're only ever going to make a little bit more, right? If you feel like there's never enough money, there's never going to be enough money, right? So if those are some beliefs that you want to change, if you feel like spending is bad, I can never spend money on my coaching business because I don't make enough money in my coaching business, right? Well, if you're waiting to make money in your coaching business before you can spend, you might always be waiting, right? And I would hate for you to waste those years. So if those are some beliefs that you want to change, definitely write down what beliefs you have. And then in this manifestation journal that I'll share with you, there are some things that you can say to speak to those beliefs, and then write down some affirmations to change. So what do you want to change that into? And that's where affirmations really come in. So having some affirmations, I'll also share below some of my grateful affirmations. I've heard this before. You probably all heard this too, that your brain cannot be grateful and fearful at the same time, right? So being grateful for what you have and what you will have in the future is definitely a way to stop having those worry and fearful thoughts, right? That's one way. And that's a constant, right? So it's not something that just quickly changes overnight, but these are things that we work on every single day. So I'll share that manifestation journal below. If anyone has any questions, that is really it for today. If you feel like you are struggling with your business and wanting to move it forward, this mindset and sales skills, right, is a big part of my coaching program. If you feel like you need a strategy for lead generation or have some mindset blocks that you want to overcome and need some sales skills, because I feel like sales skills really falls into this money block category, right? Many of us think we're bad at sales, and I just think that's not true. We just need sales skills, right? None of us have been taught sales, right? We're entrepreneurs and we're really good at whatever our business is offering, but we're not great at selling or being direct about it, right? So those are things that I offer in my one-on-one coaching program. If that's something you're interested in, just say strategy below. I would love to reach out to you. I always offer a free 15-minute call, right? If you wanted to go over any of your current social media or your Facebook groups, if you want to go over any of your current strategies, I can usually offer some free ideas that could help. And then if it makes sense, we can talk about working together. So I'd love to hear from any of you. Feel free to reach out or just say strategy below. But otherwise, let me know if this was helpful, if you felt like you learned something, and what are your 2 action items that you're going to use to apply to your business today.